Attorney General Pam Bondi testified for more than 4 hours during a contentious hearing here on Capitol Hill today in a performance that satisfied the White House, according to what our sources are telling us at CNN tonight. But Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee likely were not satisfied. Even by today's standards, it was a heated, largely partisan hearing that lacked much substance as the Attorney General battled with the Democrats over pointed questions about the case against James Comey, who's being arraigned tomorrow, National Guard deployments, and even the Jeffrey Epstein files.
There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
The Attorney General arrived on Capitol Hill with her own personal attacks prepared to hit back at Democrats.
You voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here. Our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. You were also on video outside the White House protesting with a group called CASA, where Antifa members were. Does that mean you're a member of Antifa? You know, Senator Schiff, if you worked for me, you would have been fired because you were censured by Congress for lying with your egregious...
We can stipulate to...
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You admitted you lied to be
accusing
elected a U.S. senator. You lied. How dare you? I'm a career prosecutor. Don't you ever challenge my integrity.
And the senator you heard from there at the end, Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal, is my source tonight. And thank you, Senator, for being here. First, would you like to respond to what the Attorney General was saying today?
Well, as you can tell, her personal attack on me, discredited 15 years ago and largely, like others, distorted and deceptive, was part of a strategy, lashing out because she had no answers or she wanted to avoid answering questions. And what was really astonishing, as you pointed out very graphically in what you just replayed, was her ducking, evading, avoiding answers on a great breadth of questions, whether it was Tom Homan accepting cash in a bag and then having the investigation dropped, or the selective prosecution of James Comey, or a variety of antitrust cases that I raised with her where there was no case pursued because of lobbyists who were political consultants and friends or allies of the president. So this kind of personal attack, I think, really was just extraordinary. I've never seen anything like it in 15 years. We've had disagreements with attorneys general in the course of our oversight hearing, but these oversight hearings are supposed to elicit facts and explanations for conduct that we're asking about.
And what she's talking about, for people who don't know, because it was 15 years ago, is you had said in a statement then that you had misspoken about your service. You said, I regret that and I take full responsibility. That was back in 2010. Just a few moments while we were in the commercial, the president posted about this on Truth Social. It's a lengthy post basically going on about you lying about your military service. And in here, though, it's very long, but I want to read this part where he says, quote, this guy shouldn't even be in the U.S. Senate. It should be investigated and justice should be sought. Right now, there's a congressman sitting in prison for lying about his past during a campaign. I think he's talking about George Santos there. But when the president is saying that this should be investigated and justice should be sought, what's your reaction to that?
This allegation of 15 years ago has been really rejected by the voters of Connecticut 3 times, overwhelmingly re-electing me. But more to the point, I was honorably discharged as a sergeant from the United States Marine Corps. I served in the reserves, and I referred to my service in Vietnam on a handful, just a couple of occasions, rather than during Vietnam. So I have served on the Armed Services Committee for these 15 years, as well as the Veterans Affairs Committee now as a ranking member. And I work and fight for veterans and for the strongest, greatest military in the history of the world, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Do you have any concerns about what the president is saying should happen? Or?
Well, not about what he is saying, except that it is just so completely deceptive and distorted. I've seen the ex post, and it really is absurd.
At this hearing today, I mean, there was one point where Dick Durbin said similar to what you said, which is that he'd spent 20 years on the committee. He said he'd never seen testimony like what he got from the Attorney General today. One thing that you focused on and had talked about was with James Comey being arraigned tomorrow. And this was questions that she faced as well. She said, I'm not going to discuss conversations I have or have not had with the President of the United States. That's pretty typical for cabinet secretaries. But I think what changes is that 5 days, or I believe 5 or 6 days before Comey was indicted, Trump had posted about it on Truth Social, calling for his prosecution.
He posted on it on September 20th. Comey was indicted on September 25th, and his post virtually ordered her without delay. He said, guilty as hell. Justice has to be served. And I also pointed out that she had dinner with him on the evening before Comey was indicted by that grand jury. Another indication that he was in effect directing the prosecution. And what's so important here is malicious or selective prosecution based on personal animosity or this kind of vendetta or vengeance has no place in our criminal justice system.
One thing that your Republican colleagues raised a lot today was this revelation that Jack Smith, as the special prosecutor, sought the call logs of several of your Republican colleagues. And even Dick Durbin, the top Democrat on that committee today, said that he believes this should be investigated thoroughly and that we should ignore that. If it were Democrats, I would feel the same way. Do you believe that it should be investigated as well?
I agree that we need more information about what exactly happened. Chairman Grassley, in effect, sprung this revelation on all of the committee members, and I think we need more information about it, absolutely.
Senator Richard Blumenthal, thank you for joining us tonight after quite a day on Capitol Hill.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Let me play a little bit more with Senator Blumenthal. Here it is.
The night before James Comey's indictment, you had dinner with the President of the United States. Pretty intimate group.
Actually, there
James
were a lot of
Comey
people there that
discussed-
night. That's a great
Was James
picture.
Comey discussed at that dinner?
I love that picture. That's a great picture.